Okay, this is M251, M257, session number 9. We will discuss inshallah today meeting number 8 or session 8 from the LMS. Is it okay? Okay, there was a delay or there was a late by 10 minutes due to some technical problems, but hopefully inshallah there will not be any more delay in delivering this lecture. The voice is clear to you all? الصوت واضح عندكم؟ Good. Can you see the screen? Okay. Fine. As you see on the screen, this is your LMS page. Okay. So we'll have every week classes. There is a class on Sunday. There is a class on Monday. There is a class on Wednesday by different tutors. You have the link, the same link you have. And we are going to follow the unified sessions. Meeting 8 will be discussed in this meeting. The students are free to attend any lecture or any class from these three. Fine. So you have today Sunday. If you are free now 2 to 4, you are free to attend on Sunday. You don't need to worry about your attendance. You will be marked as present. If you are not free on Sunday, Monday 4 to 6, you can attend. That is tomorrow 4 to 6. You can attend. If you are not okay with that, you can attend on Wednesday from morning 10 to 12. As-subah min ashra ila 12 with Miss Disha John. So attendance, you don't need to worry about the attendance. You attend any lecture. Fine. So you don't need to worry about the attendance, like what will be my attendance. You will be marked as present. You will attend any class. Either you attend today from 2 to 4, tomorrow you have from 4 to 6. The same topic will be discussed by Miss Malak Al-Amin. And the same topic will be discussed on Wednesday in the morning, 10 to 12, by Miss Disha John. So you are free here to attend any class since we have the classes online due to the announcement came from the Ministry of Education. Fine. So you don't need to worry about the attendance. You can attend any of the class. It will not affect your participation grades. You will be marked as present. Okay, Muhammad Shahran, you can attend any class. No need to worry about your participation grades. You will be marked. Fine. So no student need to now raise their hands and say that I am present, I am present. Don't need to, there is no need for this. You are attending as long as you are attending by your ID name and number. Fine. Log in by ID name and name. That's it. You will be marked as present. Fine. You need to study something about how to use Adobe Connect. You have the link here. How to use the Adobe Connect. Fine. You can check from here. Okay. This is for all courses. This is not only for this course. This is for all courses. Fine. So you will go to your course in the LMS. You will get the links like where to attend and how to attend. There will be classes like for some courses there is only 2 classes. So for some courses there are 3 classes. For some courses there might be more than 3 classes. Okay. For some courses there is only 1 class. Okay. So you can attend from the link given in the LMS directly. No need to follow your old links, or if you have different links, no need to follow that. Simply go to the LMS, check there, check your course page. You'll get the links, timing, and the tutor who is teaching that course. You can still, attend it. Fine. Yeah, sure, we will start inshallah now. Let me just complete this. Yeah, for the M257, 251, it is same. Both are same. Okay, since this is a closed room, might be you will get some echo. Let me just make it more clear to you. There is no lab session for this course until the next announcement. Okay. Saraha, this is already recorded. Inshallah, I will send you the link, a recorded link, inshallah. Okay. Can you see the screen clear to you all? Okay, fine. Okay, so the meeting number 8 is about exception handling and text input output. Most of the students, I think, have taken this meeting, especially the students of Medina, and one session in Riyadh and one session in Dammam has taken this with me in the last week. But since we are unifying this to all centers, we will repeat this again. Exception handling and text input output. The motivation to this meeting and the discussion is, whenever we run a program, sometimes we come under a runtime error. where the program terminates abnormally with some error that we don't know that how to handle that error, so that we can display some proper message to the user that there is something wrong there and terminate the program in a proper manner. Okay, so how to handle this runtime error and display a proper message to the user that there is some problem in your program, there is some error in your program, that the user can take it properly and solve this problem. So this chapter, this meeting is to discuss the runtime problem. Apart from this, in this meeting, we are also going to talk about input-output method in Java, how the input and output process work in Java. Till now, what we have taken is the inputs from the keyboard and the output on the screen. The input from the keyboard and the output on the screen. So we will see that what is the process behind in the system, behind the screen, how does it work, that input-output during the running of the program. So the objectives of this meeting is to get you in input-output streams in Java. We'll talk about what is an input stream, output stream in Java, how does it work, reading the text input from the file and writing text output to a file. So we're going to talk about reading and writing from the file and to the file. So reading the text input from file and writing text output to the file. The reading from web, no, we don't have this reading from web. We just have reading and writing from the file and to the file, and also reading and writing, reading from the keyboard, writing on the screen. And then we talk about exceptions and declaring and handling exceptions, where we talk about if there is any runtime error generated, how to handle that runtime error so that our program terminates properly with a proper message. So there are two topics here to discuss in this meeting. The first topic is about the input-output streams. The second topic is about exceptions. Fine. So two topics we are going to discuss. We'll start with input-output streams. Input and output, there are two ways for input-output in Java. One is using a sequential source or destination, that is, for example, using your keyboard and monitor, fine. So, or reading and writing from the file. The other method is using a graphical user interface that inshallah we are going to study it later when we go to the session number 9 and 10, fine. So there we are going to inshallah discuss it, fine. Walaikum assalam. The second thing here is error handling. While reading the data and writing the data, if there is any error happens, for example, we are trying to read from the file where there is no file by such name. Like you are writing a program to read from a file by name xyz.txt. Fine. You are trying to read from the file xyz, but there is no such file xyz. So there will be an error like file not found. Fine. So how to handle these kind of errors while running our Java programs, that we will discuss inshallah. So input-output streams, Java here uses the concept of a stream for providing the input-output facilities. So what is a stream? A stream is nothing but a flow of data. A stream is nothing but a flow of data. As you see, the data flows, okay, from and to the program, okay, which is called streams. So streams is essentially a sequence of bytes representing flow of data from a source to the destination. For example, if you talk about your program that is reading data from the file, so there is a flow of a stream from the keyboard to your program, where the data passes from the keyboard to the program. So, and then when you're displaying something output on the screen, the data goes from the program onto the screen. That is a flow of data. That is a stream of data. So whenever we see that, okay, we have a program here. Let's say that, okay, this is my program. Okay, so I have an input in this program. So from the keyboard, and a stream of data goes when we read something, and yes, .java. Students online, why not to have all these kind of questions like midterm, other questions not related to the topic, inshallah, at the end of the session. Okay, and now let us concentrate on what we are discussing, and if you have any question on what we are discussing, please raise your question. Otherwise, any other question which is not related to the topic under discussion, keep it for later. At the end of the session, I will give you the time to ask whatever the question you have. Clear? Okay, fine. So here, there is a flow of data from here to the program. And whenever we write something, let's say system.out.println, we're printing something onto the screen, onto the monitor, there is a flow of data, the stream, flow of bytes, the stream. Okay, so that's what the flow of data. The sources and destinations can include the keyboard, screens, some data files, reading from the file, writing to the file. Also, the computers on network and sending the data from one computer to another computer. That's also a flow of data. Okay, so any read and write, reading the data or writing the data onto the source or the destination, it follows in 3 simple steps in Java. The first step is to open the stream, where you may need to create some objects there. Second step is keep reading from the file or writing to the file, reading from the keyboard or writing onto the screen, fine, until you finish reading or writing. Third step is to close the stream. Third step is to close the stream. So in first step is to open the stream by defining some objects. Now if you look back into what programs we have done before, okay, let's say for example, okay, let's say for example, like I have an integer int x, okay, and I want to read a value from the keyboard. Mr. Majid, is the sound clear to you? Okay, so let's say that, okay, we want to read something from the keyboard, fine, read from the keyboard. So what we will do when we want to read something from the keyboard, basically what object we create if you want to read data from the keyboard? Scanner object. So we need to create an object, scanner object, scanner input is equal to a new scanner of system dot in. So when we create an scanner object, Okay, for this, of course, we need to import a scanner from the util package. Okay, we read a scanner, then we ask the user to enter something. So, for example, system.out.println. Let's say enter a value. Fine. So now we are going to read it x.input.next end, since it is an integer value. Fine. So what is happening here is when we create an object, fine, with the system.in, so a stream is created, a stream is made to read the value from the keyboard. Okay. So this is the first step. What is said here, open the stream where we define some objects. Fine. So with this defining of the objects, what we did is the first step, that is open a stream to read the data or to write the data. Fine. So here we create a scanner stream here, a stream of data. So to read the data from the keyboard. Okay, so whenever we run this program, we see that okay, there is an input. So we enter a value, for example, let's say 25. So it reads, the value goes from the keyboard to the program. The value goes from the keyboard to the program. So it's very simple. So what happens in the program here is, like, what is happening here is that we have our program here. Fine. This is the keyboard. So when we define a scanner object, a stream is open with a scanner object. Fine. So we say enter a value. So the value is, whenever we enter 25, the value that goes in terms of bytes. Fine. It goes to the program. So in the program, the value 25 goes to the variable x. And when we want to print this value, for example, let's say system.out.print x. So we print the x. So whatever we enter 25, 25 is printed. Fine. So the print x, that will go onto the screen 25, that flow from as a stream. So these three steps is followed. Open the stream, keep reading or writing until finally close the stream. Close the stream is by using the close method of the object. Fine. Every stream will have a close. So input object, I have input.close. This close will close the stream. Close the stream. Fine. So you see that after I write this close, the stream will be closed. There is no more read or from the keyboard. Fine. So this is the three steps we see in Java. So we have tried this before, like we are trying to read it, we create a scanner object, read from the, print it and close it. Three steps, what I just show you by reading from the keyboard. Now similarly, if you want to read from the file, there is a question here, what is the meaning of stream in Java? It is a flow of data in terms of bytes. You can see that in your first slide, in this slide, a stream is essentially a sequence of bytes representing a flow of data from a source to a destination. This is a stream in Java. Clear, Saleha? Clear? Okay. Now that's reading from the keyboard we have seen. Now the next step is reading from the file. How to read the data from the file. So in reading from the file in Java, first we need to create a file object. We need to create a file object representing the file from which you want to read. And use that file object in the scanner to read from the file. file. Now let's first see that, okay, we have a file. Let's say that we have a C drive here. In C drive, we have a file. Okay, let's say that I have a file ABC. It's a text file, text document. It's a text file, and there is some data here. Welcome to Java. Welcome to Java in this file. Okay, so we want to read this file from the keyboard. So sorry, from this file, read this data from this file. Welcome to Java. So how does it work? It's very simple. You create a file object here and put that file object in the scanner. Now use the same scanner methods. Next line, next int, next double, all the next method of the scanner to read the data. Fine. So the file object, the file class comes from the IO package of Java. You need to import java.io. So in my program, if I want to test this, okay, I have this here, java.io.star, fine, that comes from where the file object comes here. Okay, now let me just create a file object here, file f is equal to new file of c:/abc.txt that I want to read from that file abc.txt. Now the next is I need this reading object scanner input is equal to new scanner of the file object. Okay, now let's say some error here. Okay, now here comes the exception. We need to include a try catch here. Try and a catch. Now I'll explain you what is this try and catch in our coming slides. Okay, that what is this try and catch and why include this try and catch, inshallah, that is in our exception discussion. So after this input output discussion, we'll have the exception discussion where I will explain you what is this try and catch and why we include this try and catch. For now, we need to deal every file reading and writing operations inside a try block. I write a try here, open the bracket and close the bracket here. This is called a try block. This is called a try block. So I need to put all the reading and writing operations of the file inside a try block. Okay. For now, you have to keep that in mind. Then after that, I will explain you that why we need this try block. Okay. Now I create a string object here. I created a scanner object that takes the file which is abc.txt in the C drive. And now let me read one line from that file. So input dot next line. Okay, one line, to read one line and try to print that line by printing S. What I read from that file is in S and I try to print that S. Fine. So now let us try to run this program and see whether we get it. Yes, we got welcome to Java is printed. That is from the file abc.txt. Fine. Now let us see that we try to change this contents. Fine. That, oh Allah, protect us from all evil. Fine. So I kept this text in abc.txt. Okay. Now I'm trying to read that from the abc.txt which is in C drive. Okay. So I got this. Fine. Okay. Now here outputs we need think. Now this is all explanation. Okay, you can take this as an explanation. and هذا كله تشريحات فأخذ كشرح هذا حتى ممكن أن تسوي براكتس في النت بينز عندكم بعد المحاضرة تدخل فيه how will read from the file, write to the file. Okay, a similar way what we did. Binafsa tariqa. Okay, now there might be a chance that sometimes I name a file which may not be there. Like for example, abc1.txt. So I find that there is no abc1.txt in this folder, in the C drive. Okay. Now in this case what happens is that, in this case, the try and catch comes in. Okay. Now you see that I don't get any error here. I don't get anything error. So what is happening here is that the try and the catch block works here. That is called an exception, an error. Okay. So we'll just put a statement here, system.out.println. I want to print this object E, this exception E, to see what is the problem. There is no output here. So the problem is file not found exception, C abc1.txt, system cannot find this file. System cannot find this file. Okay. Or I can also include some message here. Instead of printing the message, I'll say like file, I'll put my own message, file not found to read. Okay. Now let's run this and see. Okay, I got my message here. That's why we use this try and catch, but we'll come to more explanation, inshallah, on try and catch in our coming slides. Now our focus is on reading the file or reading the data from the file by using the scanner. So we create an object, that is a file object, to represent the file, then put that object in the scanner to create a string between the file and the program. So here comes the string between the file and the program. Okay, so here we have this program. Okay, and here we have the file, that is abc.txt. abc.txt. So when I create a scanner here, I put a scanner, so a stream is created here from the file to the program to read the data through the scanner. Okay, and when I print it on the screen, it is printed on the screen with a print statement. Fine. So this is how we read the data from the file. Okay. Similarly, we can read one word, we can read one line, we can read an integer, we can read a double. Okay, any type of value in the file, you can read it. Fine. So I read in my program next line and one line of data. If you just want to read just one word, the first word in the file, ABC. Okay. abc.txt. Now what is the first word in my file? Is O. O is the first word. Fine. So I want to read the O. So just like with next. Fine. If you want to read the next integer, next int, you put next int. Fine. So to the integer. So it is not in a string. It should be to the integer. Next int. So let's say, for example, int x equal input dot next int. This is to read an integer from the file, if there is an integer. There is no integer, that's why it is giving you an exception. So it is taking you to the exception since there is no integer to read here. There is no integer to read here. Fine, in the file. So if I include an integer value here, for example, let's say 23. Okay. Where did I put it? 23 here after the word, because I read the first word and then after that I include an integer value. So first word, the integer value. If you want to print that integer value and test x, that is the integer value, what we read. that is 23. First we read the word and then it comes 23, next integer. Fine. So like this you can read integers, you can read double values, you can read lines of data, you can read any type of data that you have in the file, Boolean or any type of data. We can also test to check whether there is a data or not by using has next method. For example, has next, it returns true if there is a token of data to be available. Fine. There is a question, can we write next string? No, we don't have a method next string in scanner. We cannot write next string. There is no method next string in scanner. There is a next, there is next line, there is next end, next double, next float. Okay. We don't have next string in scanner class. So there is no next string here. Okay. Fine. So if you want to check whether there is a next data available to read or not that returns true or false, okay, you can use this has method. Has next int, has next double to check it. Fine. So that you can check it in the loop and print repeated data. Okay. Now that's about reading from the file. The next here is writing to the file. If we want to write something to the file, okay, how can we write that to the file? So it's very simple that instead of a scanner, we need to use the print writer class. Where we use the scanner class here to read the data from the file, and to write the data to the file, we can use this what? This print writer class. We can use the print writer class. Okay, and then use this print writer object to print whatever you want to print to the file. Okay, so let's say for example, I read this from the file read. Let's say this is file read abc.txt. I read from abc.txt one word O and one integer x. Okay, and I want to write this to the another file. So I'll create another file. For example, file write is equal to new file of, let's say c:/test.txt. Okay, and let's say that I want to write that. So I use the print writer class, print writer, pr is equal to new print writer of file write object, and I want to write the data to the file. So I use pr dot println of s. So I am writing that as what I read from the file, that same I am writing to the file x. So s and x I am writing. Okay. So now let us see that I must get this into two files. So one is ABC, which I have the first word O and 23, that to be returned to the test. Okay. Now there is here, there is a confusion here. Yeah. So build successful. Yeah, so there is no data here, so there's something wrong here in my program, so we need to test it. What is the wrong here? Okay, now just printing to the file write test.txt, print s. Let's try to print some message like hello, and how are you? 2 lines. Okay, so now check our test. Still we don't have it. Test.txt. Now let us put it something like this. Close the reading. We'll just have the writing. Okay. PR.close, closing the print writer. Yeah, we got the data, we are writing it. Fine. Hello, how are you is written in test.txt from here. So, okay, this is file object, print writer, print, hello and how are you. Okay. Now let's try this file reading from the file, reading a line of data. Next line, okay, and into the string, and print this on the screen to test whether it is have been read or not. Yes, it has been read. Okay, let me just take this out. So I have this OBC. Let me take this out. Okay, now we are now trying to print this message to the file, okay, by using pr.printf %s, comma s, fine, and then we try to put the next line, new line, and try to print this hello, over. Okay, now let's check our test. Yeah. We got this message, oh Allah, protect us from all evil. Now this is from where? From the abc.txt, from this file. Okay, and then we have that hello message and the print message and so on. Okay, so this is how we read the data, how we write the data to the file, how we write the data to the file. So two things here we have, that read from the file and write to the file. Okay. Now here is an exercise. Write a Java code to write the following lines into a new file called luck.txt. Then write another Java code to print the contents of luck.txt and print the number of lines. It's very simple. It's like we create a file object here, okay, by the name luck.txt. We open a print writer and we write all the message, we close it, fine. We put an exception, try and catch. Now read all the data from that luck.txt, okay, and count the number of lines. How many lines you have read. So that's another thing. Fine. So if you want to try this exercise, okay, it's very simple to try it out. Here, for example, see, I have already a luck.txt here, which has this message. Okay, I just want to read it and print how many number of lines. I want to count it. Count as 0, for example. I'll take the count as a counter. So I'll take string s, fine, and I'll create a file object. File f is equal to new file of c:/luck.txt. Okay. Now I'll use a try block here. Try scanner and put is equal to new scanner of the file. f where I want to read. Okay, so I'll say while input dot has next line, and there is a next line to read the line into S. Input dot next line. Okay, count plus plus, increment the counter. Fine, and print the line system.out.println of S. Okay, so we did all reading and counting. Finally, we print how many lines are there. System.out.printf. There are %d lines in the file. Count. Okay. Now for a try, I need to write a catch block. Catch the exception if there is any error. Sorry. Fine. So there are 3 lines in the file, and these are the 3 lines. Study well for MTA. You have up to meeting 5 from the course. Good luck. And you can see these 3 lines in the file. Where is that file? No, this is not the file. In the C drive, you can see this log file, and you have these 3 lines. Okay, so this is the exercise what is asked to you, to read and print and count the number of lines. Okay, so of course we missed one thing here, is to close the object. To close the object, so we can close this input object at input dot close by using this close to close the string. Fine. So similarly, we can also read and write the objects. Read and write the objects. Reading and writing objects are nothing but reading and writing the object's data. The object data. Fine. There is a question, what happens if we don't close the string? If you don't close the string, there is nothing. You don't see any difference if you don't close the string. But the string will be kept open between the keyboard or between the file and the program. Okay. So if you want to explicitly close it, the string between the file, and release the file which is used by the program, by the string, you have to do it by close. Okay, and it is good option, like you keep it closed every time after the use, close the string so that the file will be released, okay, from the program. If you don't close, there may be like the file is used by the program, so it is linked with the program. Okay, so you cannot do outside operations with the file if it is only attached with the program. So, and it is a good option that you close it. If you don't close it, you don't feel any difference, but inside it is opened with the program. It is linked, and the link is open with the program. Okay. Okay, now what about writing the objects to the file? Writing an objects to the file is nothing but writing the object data. Writing the object data. Fine. So any object, for example, if you want to write the object, it's nothing but writing the object data. So if you want to write the object data, you can use the getter methods. of that object data. For example, you have object name.getX. Like say for example for circle, you have the radius. So you have that getRadius method to read the radius of the circle. Fine. So you need to access each attribute using the getter method, using getRadius, getArea, like this, and print that to the file. Print that to the file. Let's say for example, we use this example here, exercise, as an example, like deal rectangle that has the following methods: fill rectangle, write to file, read from file, print area, and just for example call these methods: fill rectangle, write to file, and read from file in the main method. Now deal rectangle is a file where you have this fill rectangle. Fill rectangle, what it will do? It will take the list of objects as an argument and fill it with rectangle objects. So it means that it will take the object list, okay, it will take the list of object and fill this into a list, into an array list, okay. Write to file will write the list, what you already filled, to a file called rectangles.txt. Then read from a file is to read the contents of rectangle.txt and return it as a list. Then print area, which takes the list of rectangles, that is from read from file, and print the area of each rectangle. And now in the main method, create a list, invoke these methods for the list. You note that the rectangle has width, height, and the color. Fine. Now deal rectangle, that is fill rectangle. This is fill rectangle, not create. This is fill rectangle, where it takes a list, create 3 rectangles, and add these 3 rectangles to the list. Now if I do this in this one, I have already done this for deal circles, not rectangle, circles. Okay, instead of circle. Now here I have the circle class, wherein which I have the methods getRadius, okay, and other equals and compare to method. So of course a circle has radius and it also has the color and the filled in from simple geometric object. Okay, or it will take, if you want to do it with a rectangle, the rectangle also has length and width and other things. Fine. Now let's talk about deal circles here. I create this fill circles which takes an array list. I create 3 circles here, okay, and add these 3 circles to the list. Now writing these circles to the file. Writing these circles to the file. How to write them? I write to file, the list. I create a file called circles.txt, use a print writer, and I take every circle object into X from the list, get the radius, get their color, get their filled in or not, and print them to the file. Okay. Now read from the file name, I take it here, from which I want to read the radius, color, and filled in, and add them as a circle to the list, and return the list. Okay, return the list. Print area, I'll take the list, print the radius and the area. Now here comes the main method where I create the list, call fill circle with the list, write to file, then again read from file to the list, print area. Okay, fine. So here, if you run this, there is an exception. Okay, here it is circle. The name of the file is what? Circles.txt. So the name of the file here, circles.txt, from which I want to read and print. Okay. Now where is the circles.txt? It is in the C drive. Okay. So let me check the C drive. I have the circles. I have this, the radius, the color filled in. The radius, the color, and the filled in. Fine. Now in this program, what we can do here is the similar thing. This is what fill rectangles. Okay, where you create a rectangle with the height and the width and the color. Height and the width and the color. Fine. You create 3 rectangles, add these 3 rectangles to the list, what you are taking that as an argument. Okay. Then write to file, you take a list, read from the file, okay. You create a file object and write to the file what is there in the list. Okay, that is every rectangle width, height and the color. Fine. Now, the read from file is you need to read the file, the width, height and the color, and create an object of rectangle and add to the list and return that list. Okay, so I create a list here, the file, read scanner for the reading till I have the next, read the double height and the color, and then add it as a new rectangle with width, height and color. Okay, finally return the list. Then print area, just go to the list, okay, print that area. Now here it is, I create the list, okay, deal rectangles to create list, write to file, read from file, print area. So you will get that, you will see that this rectangles.txt is created, okay, where you write all the rectangle data. Fine. So that's how we can read and write the objects. How we can read and write the objects. Fine. So if you want me to do this, do you understand it, or you want me to do this practically here? Deal rectangles. Is it clear to you all, or you want me to do this again? Okay, now let's have this rectangle class in which I have these 2 attributes. Let's say that the height and the width. Fine. So length and the width, I have length and the width. Fine, length and the width. Area, length into width. Let me write the get height and get width. That is height. Take it as height. Okay. Take it as h. Now let me write public. Is it all double or integer? Public and get height, return this height. Similarly, I write the get width, return this width. Okay, get area. Fine. So I have this rectangle class where I have 2 variables, 2 attributes, height and the width, okay, and I have a get height, get width and get area. Fine. Now let's create a new class called deal rectangles. Deal rectangles. This is what what is want for us. Now in this class we are going to use the scanner, we are going to read the, we are going to write, create files and all. So I do some import here, import java.util.scanner for, I need a scanner. I will do some import here, import java.io. There is no array here, there is a io.file. I'll do import java.io.print writer. I need a print writer here, so I'll do import java.util.ArrayList, as I'm using an array list here. Fine. I have to put this after the package. Okay, I do some imports here. Fine. Now here, what it says for me is that write deal rectangles which take an array list and create rectangles and add them to the list. Fine. So we write deal rectangles, public. It does not return anything. Fill rectangle. Is it the name fill rectangle given? Yeah, fill rectangles. Fill rectangles. It takes an array list. This is not difficult, Salaha. This is not difficult. It just needs some practice for you. Okay? It needs some practice, not difficult. Don't take it as difficult. If you take this as difficult, it will be difficult for you. Don't take this as difficult. Okay? Fine. So I need to take an array list here. Array list of rectangles. Sorry, rectangle list. Fine. Yeah, you need some practice and understanding, explanation. Now I create a rectangle object here. Rectangle R1 is equal to new rectangle of, I have width and the height, okay? Sorry, height and the width, 2, 3 as height and the width, one object I created. Fine, I create another two objects here, R1, R2 and R3. Fine, 2, 3, this is 4, 5 and let's say 6 and 7, their height and the width, 6 and 7. And I need to add this to the list, so I have the list dot add R1, fine, list dot add R2 and list dot add R3. Okay, so done. This is our first task. This is our first method where we add the rectangles to the list. So a list is created now where we have the rectangles R1, R2 and R3. So you can feel the list something like this. So we have the list here by the name list where we have R1, R2 and R3. So every R has what? The height and the width. R2 has height and the width, and R3 has height and the width. Right? So we know that what is the height and the width of R1, R2 and R3. So our first task. Second task is write to file to write a list of rectangles into a file rectangles.txt, which is this one. We takes a rectangles as an argument, create a file and read the rectangles and write their width and the height to the file. Okay. There is a question. Nama has, can we put list.add? No, we have list.add all. We can use this method also to add these objects. List.add all. So you can see the collection here. So you need to give the collection here, all these to add them. 1, 2, 3, R1, R2, R3. Fine. Or you can do it by adding one by one. Okay. So our second method here is public void write to file. It takes an array list of rectangles as list. Okay, and now write this list to the file. So if you want to write this to the file, you need to create a file object, of course. So file f is equal to new file of, what is the file you want to write? c:/rectangles.txt, where you want to write this rectangles.txt. Okay. Now from this rectangles.txt, if you want to write it to the rectangles.txt, you create this. Then you need what? A print writer. Okay. So we put that in a try catch block. I write a try here. So I create a print writer. Print writer PR is equal to new print writer of the file, where we want to write to the file. Okay. Now what I have in the file, what is the rectangle data? It has what? The height and the width. It has height and the width, which is of type integer. So I take int height and the width, fine, and I'll check that whether there is a more data to read. Where there is so I have to take that data, fine. So sorry, I don't need this one. I need to take the data from the list. So I'll take a for loop here for each loop, for rectangle x from the list. Take the rectangle x from the list and write this data to the file. So I use print writer. Okay. Print f %d as what? As the height, %d as the width, comma x dot get height, comma x dot get width. Fine. For every object. So from the list I take every object into x and write that height and the width to the file. Okay. Once the writing is done, all the writing is done, I'm going to close the print writer. Okay, and I'll have a catch block here, exception E. So in this way, I read the data and write to the file. Write to the file rectangles.txt here. Okay. Now after this, we need to read from file. In this read from file, we need to read the data from the file. Okay, by using the scanner and add that to the list. Add that to the list, and it also returns a list. So it should have a return type as list. As what? List. Okay. So write public array list of rectangle read from file. Okay. Now this takes what? You need to read here. So okay, I create a list of rectangle here. Rectangle list is equal to new array list of rectangle. Okay, I'll create a file object, file f is equal to new file of, from where you want to read, c:/rectangles.txt. Okay, I need to create a scanner object. I'll put this in try catch, try. Scanner input is new scanner of the file from where you want to read. Okay. Now under this I need to do what? I need to read again. Fine. Sorry, I need to read the height and the width. So I'll take integer as height and the width. Fine. I'll test whether there is a data while the input has next token to read. Fine. So now here I read h is equal to input dot next int and w is equal to input dot next int. I read two integers. Fine. Now after reading it, I can create the list and add it to the list. List dot add of new rectangle of the height and the width. Fine. So every time it reads the height and the width from the file, okay, it reads height and the width from the file and create a new rectangle and add it to the list. Create a new rectangle and add it to the list. Now after this, all adding is done. Fine. I'll just close it, the reading. Fine. Of course, for a try, I must have a catch here. Catch exception E. Fine. Now this file, of course, it returns something. Okay. So this method, so it returns a list. So return a list. After adding all the data from the file to the list, it returns a list. Okay. Now after this, we have a print area method just to print it as a print area. Fine. So let's print the area. So say public void print area. It takes the array list of rectangle. Sorry, not as capital. Rectangle list and use a for each loop here. For rectangle from the list. Okay. System.out.println x dot get area. Now let me print a radius, height, HEIDHT, height plus x dot get height, okay, and then width, WID, width, x dot get width, and then plus area x dot get area. Okay, fine. You can see, is it clear? Fine. So we got the print area also is done. Fine. Now create a main method in this and call these methods, and to check whether the file is created, it is reading or not reading. Okay. Or you can right from the main method. So this has a main method here. This is the main method of this class, this package. So here so I'll create an array list. Array list is equal to new array list of rectangle. List is equal to new array list of rectangle, then array list rectangle list 1 is equal to new array list of rectangle. So two array list we have created. Okay. First we call to create the list, or we call this first method, that is fill rectangle. Okay. So we have here deal rectangles. We have fill rectangle to call. Okay. So from the deal rectangles. Okay. Now let me make it as static all methods as it is given, to not to make again confused to you, because if I don't make it static, I need to create the object of it and then call them. But if I make them static, it's easy, just directly I can call them. Okay. No need to create object of that class. So in the main method, I'll call deal rectangles dot fill rectangle into the list. Okay. So fill rectangle into the list where the rectangles are created and added to the list. Second one, what is the next? I call right to file. So deal rectangles dot right to file the list. The list is right to the file. Okay. Then again, list 1 is equal to deal rectangle dot read from file. Rectangles dot read from file. Okay. Now print area deal rectangles dot print area of the list 1. Okay. Now let us run this and see. Yes, we have the width, height and the area. 2, 3, 4, 34. Now let us check the file rectangles. So you see the new file rectangles where we have 2, 3 and then 4, 5, then 6, 7. Okay. Now it is printed in a different way. Let's go to the deal rectangles here, and where we are adding that to the file. So I need to give it, like, for example, let's put it a new line here. Let's see if it will work. Inshallah. Yeah. Height 2, width 3, area 6.0. So first object is 2, 3. So you have 2, 3, area 2 into 3, 6. Rectangle 2, 4, 5, 4, 5, area 20. Rectangle 3, 6, 7, 6, 7, area 42. And you can also see that rectangles. So So you have 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7. What we have, right? We did write the 5, this thing. Okay. In a more proper way, if you want to write, you can write it like, so this is what we write: height, width and the color by using print. Okay. Print next line. Okay. I use here printf. So you can also use print next line. Just say like x dot get height, then plus x dot get width with a space. Okay, in new line. Let's save this. So now you can see the rectangles 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So this is how we can go ahead with reading and writing from the file. I hope you got some idea about this. If you practice this, you can easily learn this. Fine. So is it clear to you all? Yeah, it takes some practice, of course. Fine, you need to do it, reading and writing the objects. Fine. You may get some questions on this. Yeah, Mahmoud Tariq has explained it very clear that the whole idea is that we can write objects to the file. We can write objects to the file and read the objects from the file. The only thing what you need is that to write the objects to the file, we use the print writer and print the objects data by using the getter method, like get height, get width. And to read the data from the file, you need a scanner object, the file name, and read the data by using next int or next double, whatever the data is, and to check while has next. Okay, while the input has more next data. Fine. That's why you have to do this. Yeah, inshallah, I will attach this codes, all this code to you. You can also look into this code also. It's more similar, like what I did is more similar to this. Fine. Only thing is you need to have a rectangle class, and from the rectangle class, inside the rectangle class, you should have this. And it's very simple. Like you should have a rectangle class in which you have two variables, constructor to create that rectangle object, get height, get width, get area. And then you can simply write with these rectangles and write all the codes. And then main method where you write all the codes. Fine. Okay, our next topic here is exception. So exceptions is nothing but an event which occurs during the execution of the program that is stop the normal flow of the program. So we can easily capture this exception, or we can catch this exception and handle this exception and display a proper message. To explain the user like what has gone wrong. Okay, what has gone wrong. Hamza, yes, you can leave if you want. Okay, Java exception handling can be used with all possible type of error conditions. Fine, for example, a program tries to read past end of the file. We can have an exception. Program cannot find any input file, like file not found exception. Fine, if there is a file is not found which you want to read the data or write the data from the file, and that file is not found, you can handle this by using exceptions. Program tries to connect to a website using invalid address. This is also possible. by exceptions. You can handle that. Running out of memory, program tries to access array element whose index is larger than the upper limit. Let's say, for example, the array has 10 elements, the index from 0 to 9, but you are trying to access element number 10, 11, 12, which is not there in the array. Some arithmetic operations like division by 0, read file of integer, trying to read the integer data, but you find some string data or character data, that also can be caught by using an exception. Fine. So any type of errors, the runtime errors, we can handle by using exceptions. For example, input mismatch exception. Input mismatch exception. How it is? What is this input mismatch exception? It is like whenever we are trying to read some data, like for example, I have int x here, okay, and say system.out.println, enter a value, okay. The scanner input is equal to new scanner of system.in. Okay. Now here, let's say like x equal input dot next integer, because it is an integer. Fine. So I'll print system dot out dot println x after reading x. Okay. Now if I run this program, it says enter a value. What value? If I enter C, for example, it is an error, because enter a value here, it is an integer to be entered. I enter a character. So there is an input mismatch exception occur here. Input mismatch exception. Fine. This is what we call an exception, where there is an input mismatch. Similarly, there can be division by 0. For example, I say I have x value here, and let's say like I divide this, say int z equals x divided by 0. Fine. So I run this program, enter 25. So there is here arithmetic exception, division by 0. Why? Because division by 0 is not there in mathematics. It is infinity. Fine. So there can be any type of exception, the runtime errors that can occur during the execution of the program is what we call it as an exception. What we call it as an exception. Okay. So exception types, the throwable class represent the most general form of exception in Java. Throwable class under object class represent the most general form. Exception class, they have two types, exceptions and errors. Okay. Now, the errors, also called the system errors, are thrown by the JVM machine and represented by error class. This describes the internal system errors, which rarely occurs, and there is a little you can do beyond notifying the user and terminate the program. So in system generated errors, you cannot do anything much. For example, running out of memory, okay, there is some linkage problem. Fine. You cannot do much about that. Just notify a message and stop the program. Fine. We cannot do much on errors. Fine. System errors. So your program does not deal with the system errors. Program, if there is a system error, program will just notify that there is a system error. Fine, and we'll go on heading. The next is exceptions. Describe errors caused by your program and external circumstances. These errors can be caught and handled. These errors can be caught and handled. Fine. So which comes under the exception class? Which comes under the exception class. Now under the exception class, you can also see different class not found exception, input output exceptions, runtime exceptions, which is arithmetic exception, null pointer, index out of bound exception. Index out of bound exception, you can test index out of bound exception, something like this. If I create an array, integer array, int array, AR is equal to new int of, let's say, 5. So I have 5 elements in this array AR. Okay. Now I'm trying to access the element. Let's forget about this division by 0. I'm trying to access the element AR of 5 is equal to X and print AR of 5. So is there AR of 5? Index 5? Do you think there is an AR 5? Yes? Students online, do you think that there is an index 5 in this array AR? There is an index 5? Now index 5 here, it means from 0 to 4. From 0 to 4, you can access from 0 to 4, not 5. Right? So it is array index out of bound. You are trying to access the array out of bound. Fine. So if I enter 25 for example, so you see that array index out of bound exception. Fine. So this comes under the exceptions. Similarly, illegal argument exceptions. Many more exceptions we have. So under runtime exceptions that need not to be caught or declared, fine, you can work your program under these runtime exceptions. It will not ask you to catch these kind of exceptions. You can see that in this program what I write, there is no error message here asking me that you need to catch this error. No, even division by 0. What I did, division by 0, int z is equal to x divided by 0, it will not show me any error here. Okay, so all these runtime exceptions is caused by programming errors such as bad casting, accessing out of bound, division by 0. Fine. So these exceptions need not be caught or declared. It can also be handled by defensive programming by using if-else statements. If-else statements. Fine. These exceptions also called unchecked exceptions. So checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. We can divide the exceptions into checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions, like the error class and the runtime exceptions. These are called unchecked exceptions. No need to caught or declare these exceptions. Runtime exception and error exceptions are called unchecked exceptions. Fine. Now then, what is checked exceptions? Checked exceptions are those which we need to check it. We need to catch it. Okay. So checked exceptions which include all other exceptions except the runtime exceptions. Okay. So for checked exceptions, we need to catch these exceptions. Like for example, file not found exception. You have seen this deal rectangles. We wrote deal rectangles, right? Where is this deal rectangles? This is our deal rectangle. Where we are trying to read from file, we are trying to read from file and also write to the file. Now in this read from file, write from file, if I don't use this try and catch, it gives me an error saying that unreported exception, file not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. What does it mean? It means that you need to catch an exception here. There is a chance that there is an exception here and you need to catch that exception. By what? Either by using a try and catch, or by throwing it, or by throws. Now how to use a try and catch? I have wrote the many code here. use a try here and write a catch for it. Use a try block. Put the code which is expected to generate an error and write a catch here, and inside the catch you can display the message like what is the message if the file is not found here. Fine. I try to print that exception what is generated if there is no file rectangles. Fine. Similarly here also I am trying to read from file which is rectangles.txt. I need to put the try and catch. Fine. Try and catch to read from file. So let's say for example I just make it like rectangle.txt and try to execute this program. Fine. And what I get here, I get nothing. Because while reading this file, I don't have rectangle.txt. So in the exception, I can print a message, println, just print that exception object, and we will see that what is the exception object printing for us. File not found exception rectangle.txt. Similarly, for example, okay, if I want to print my own message, I can print it like file not found. Okay. So you can see file not found. Okay, so for either by using a try catch or by using a throws, I can handle the exceptions. So how does it works? When Java system detects an error, it stops the normal flow of program execution. Here we say that an exception, we say that the code throws an exception is thrown. A special kind of object called exception object is created. The object holds some information about what has gone wrong. Then exception handler catches the exception. So here we have the catch statement that catches the exception. Okay, and wherein control is transferred to the part of the program where the exception handler is there, which deals with the situation by printing some message or by doing whatever the action you want. When there is an exception, the exception object is available to the handler code that can be used to decide what action to be taken. Right. So for check exception, you must do one of two things. The first thing is declare a method header that an exception may be thrown here. In this case, you don't need to handle the exception within the method, but you simply pass it by using throws keyword. The second method is you use a try and catch statement to deal with the exception. So here in this method, read from file, I am using try and catch to deal with the exception. Now, by using a try and catch, this is the second method what we are talking about. What about the first method? By using throws keyword is simply you throw the exception by using this throws. Simply you throw the exception to where? To the method which is calling this method. Fine. So if I don't need this try and catch in this method, it's very easy. You just do what? Throw these exception, throws exception or file not found exception. Fine. Now where it goes to the main method from where you are calling this. You can see here. Read from file throws exception. So when it goes to the main method, read from file, you can see here a mark unreported exception. Now this read from file method, whenever you want to call this, you need to handle an exception here. Okay. All you can do is simply from here also you can throw it to the above, to the main class, to the object class, or you can put a try and catch here, try this, and I put a catch here, catch exception E, and I'll put it like system dot out dot println file not found in main. Okay, now let's run here and see file not found in main, because this method rectangle.txt, there is no file rectangle.txt. It throws the exception to the main method. Inside the main method, I catch this exception here and print file not found in main. Okay, so this is by throwing, and by try and catch, we have seen by try and catch here, right, how we use a try and catch here. For example, if I am not throwing, then how I use a try and catch, I put whatever the code that I want to monitor for exception, I put that in a try block, and after a try block, I write and catch and write the exception, the name of the exception. It can be more generalized exception, or it can be file not found exception, input mismatch exception. What type of exception you are expecting, you can write here. Okay. Now note that for a try, there must be one catch. There must be one catch. Or you can also have a multiple catch for one try. So a try can have more than one catch, but it cannot be without catch. There should be at least one catch, or it can also have more than one catch statement for a try block. Okay, catch can be more generalized, like exception E, what I am writing here, or it can be more specific, like file not found exception. It is more specific exceptions. Okay, advantages of handling the exception. The advantage of using exception handling, it enables a method to throw an exception to its caller. Without this capability, a method must handle the exception or terminate the program. So either we throw it to this calling method, or we handle the exception inside the method itself and terminate the program properly. Fine. Cautions when using exception. Exception handling separate error handling code from normal programming task. Okay, that's making it more easier to read and modify the code. However, there are something like we can also handle the exceptions without calling the exceptions, like runtime exceptions and all, by using defensive programming. That is by using if else. Fine. When to throw an exception occurs in a method. If you want the exception to be processed by its caller, then you just need to throw it. Okay. If you can handle the exception in a method when it occurs, then you don't need to throw it. You can handle it by using try catch, or you can also handle by using if else statement. If it is an unchecked exception, like division by 0, array index out of bound, okay, in that case you can handle by if else statement. Fine. For example, I'm trying to print this toString object. Fine. Null pointer exception by using a try and catch. This one I can write it by defensive programming, if else. If the reference is null, if not null, print it toString, otherwise say reference is null. Now here we have two options, by using try catch or by using if else, So the second method, that is using if else, is called defensive programming. Okay. Finally, we have this finally clause. Finally clause is used for cleaning up. Cleaning up clause, it is also called a finally clause. So one of the things we often want to do after the exception occurred is to clean up the things before the program terminates by releasing any memory or files it has. Okay. So this allows these resources to be used by other parts of the program or other programs. So to do this, we can have the finally clause. Finally clause is always executed after the exception. So finally clause is that we have the catch clause. We can have the finally clause like this. Fine. For example, if you take this program, we try some statement here. Suppose that there is no exception, it will not go to the catch, it will go to the finally, do all finally block, execute the next statement. Okay. Now suppose that we execute this try block and we find there is an exception. So it will go to the exception 1, process the exception 1, then after that it will go to the finally block, process the finally block, and then it will go for the next statement. Okay, so we see that finally block is always executed, whether there is an exception, whether there is no exception. And finally block help us to clean up the things, to close the file streams, to close the files, to release the files, and release memories and all by using the finally clause. Okay, so this is all about what you have in this meeting from input, output, and exception handling. Okay. So as a summary, we have taken two things here, input, output, and exception handling. In input, output, we saw about how to read the data from the file and how to write the data to the file. More specifically, how to read the objects and how to write the objects to the file. And then we talk about exception handling, where we talk about checked exception, unchecked exceptions. Under unchecked exceptions, you have runtime exceptions, which can handle by try catch or by using defensive programming, by using if else. And under the checked exceptions, like opening the file, reading from the file, we can use either a try catch if you want to handle the exception inside the same method where there is a chance of getting an exceptions, or you can use a throws statement to throw the exception out of the method to the calling method, where you want to handle that in the calling method, not in the same method, by using the throws statement. Okay. Finally, we talk about the finally statement, finally block, where all the cleanup things will happen in the finally block. Finally block is always executed whether there is an exception, whether there is not an exception. Fine. So this is all what we have here. You need to practice these activities of meeting 7. And also the activities, exercise what we have inside this meeting, that is about reading and writing of the data to the file. Okay. So that's what we have here for you. Okay. Any questions? Please go ahead. There is a question. We need practice for the MTA. Of course, we'll discuss the MTA also, inshallah. Okay. Let us, we'll see, inshallah, when is the suitable time. We'll discuss the MTA also. Sorry. MTA, there is a new date for the MTA exam. You can check the MTA new date in the LMS also. I think it is posted. There is a new date for MTA. So that's the 15th of April. Okay. So it is already rescheduled to be 15th of April from 23rd March. Okay. So if the things goes well, if we see that there is a new announcement and say like, then it will be like 15th of April. Fine. If not, we'll see some alternative to this. Okay. For now, the date for the midterm exam is 15th of April. You can check the new timetable, from the university website. You can simply go to the university website and check the new timetable for this. Okay. TMA is available on the LMS. TMA, you can simply download the TMA, start solving the TMA. You have the TMA on the LMS. Yeah, the new timetable for the MTA, it is in the AOU website. You can check the AOU website and you get that. TMA deadline is 15th of April. Okay. You have the TMA, I think. Yeah, here is the TMA. You need to upload 2 files, one Word file, one NetBeans project. Okay. Now TMA will be on the same date. TMA will be on the same date. You can leave. If you don't have any questions, you can leave, no problem. And if there is no attendance, I'll take it here. TMA will be on the same date. TMA deadline will be in the second, not on the TMA deadline, yeah, it is on 15th of April. Yeah, the final date is on 2nd of May. The final exam will be on 2nd of May. Now, MTA will include up to meeting number 5. MTA will include up to meeting number 5. Final date is as of now 2nd of May, but we will check the university website. In the university website, you can see this is university website, exam schedule. You can go to the exam schedules and OU exam. Okay. Now here you have for the OU exam, unified OU MTA exam. Okay. This is the only timetable we have as of now. So in this, you can check your course. Your course is M257, 251. It is on 15th of April 2020 from 12:30 to 2:30. Okay. TMA is on, it is mentioned here, the TMA deadline. TMA date Wednesday 15th April 2020, not 2nd May. You're welcome. Any more questions? Attendance will be marked, no need to worry about the attendance. Okay, you don't need to worry about the attendance. Attendance will be marked from here. From this week, all attendance will be marked as present. Any other questions? Thank you. التحضير الحضور will be marked present. يعني جميع الطلاب حيكون تحضير الحضور present. Okay. So don't worry about the attendance. You can leave now. See, it will be marked as present until the next announcement.